Excuse me. Good morning, world. Do, 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 do. Waiting for people to join. Mike Stevens, good morning. Allah Akbar to you, Mike. Francie, good morning. How am I? I'm doing great. I hope you are doing well. Sensible Crime, good morning. Welcome to this morning's stream. I guess that's what I'm doing, isn't it? I am doing a live stream. Just a general conversation, questions and answers. Got a question? Ask. Ask questions, receive answers. Is anyone following the Juan David Ortiz trial? Border Patrol supervisor and serial killer. I am not following that case right now. I am following two others, but not the Juan David Ortiz. Sure, it's a riveting case though. Some of those border patrol officers were, totally out there on their own, and they did whatever the hell they wanted, especially with migrant individuals that they found, who had illegally crossed the border. I mean, you think about it, they're out in the middle of nowhere, no one to watch them, and it was just riddled with abuses for the longest time. Good morning, Eileen, and good morning, Purple. Murdered four sex workers and tried to kill another. Talked about cleaning the streets. We're residents of Laredo, Texas. Yeah, that sounds horrific. But no, I haven't been following, but it sounds like an interesting story. I'm gonna write it down so I can actually look into it. If I can find my notepad is. Uh, ah, ah. Sticky notes. Sticky notes are my friend. If you guys can see the monitor, it's all the way around it is just sticky notes. Start off Border Patrol Officer 1 murder. I'll look into it. Definitely sounds interesting. Gayla, good morning. Francie, question. Are you going to watch the remake of The Shining? Well, let's see here. Francie, to answer your question, not if I have to or want to. It's not something on my list of movies that I would watch. Now, if my wife, she was a big fan of the second remake. I can't remember. I always call him the Wings boy. He was on the television show Wings, but I can't remember what the actor's name is. So I always call it the Wings boy version of the remake of The Shining. She was really into that one, the remaking of it, because it followed a lot closer to the Stephen King remake, of what he wanted versus what they did originally. But nothing is ever going to beat the Jack Nicholson version of The Shining, for me at least. I mean, I think Jack Nicholson was perfect in that movie. I mean, he might have been a complete asshole to people off set and behind the camera, but You know, I only can take what I see on the screen and give it a a view in that way. He confessed to the lead investigators, didn't he? He wanted the cops to shoot him, and they wouldn't. Causing good care, even though the victims were marginal people. That's the thing with a lot of serial killers is they prey upon the marginal portion of society. Good morning, Amelia. More story that's a Freudian slip. I never knew there already been a remake. Oh yeah, but I can't remember what his name is. He was one of the two brothers on the television series Wings, about two pilots, two brothers who were pilots at a small regional airport. It was a television show that was on in my mind. I want to say late '80s, '90s. It was on television, but it was called Wings. But the one guy that was one of the brothers. For some reason, it doesn't matter what I've seen him in since then. I always think of him as the Wings boy. But that was the second remake of The Shining. Police used to say NHI, no humans involved. Better now. Agree. Jack Nicholson was perfect in The Shining. I like Jack Nicholson as an actor. Uh, Anger Management, that was a good one. But and, so back to what I was saying about serial killers. They hunt on their victims tend to be more people on the fringe of society, runaways, drug addicts, prostitutes, people who maybe they work menial jobs, waitress in a diner. I'm not saying that they're menial, but they're not important to the point where if they were just to quit their job, then that somebody would say, we better go check on them, or they didn't show up for work, somebody would say, we'll go check on them. They work live in a section of society on the edges. That's where a lot of serial killers, hunt is for people, on that section of society. People who are not going to be easily missed, if you will. But if they are a marginalized section of society, again, I'm not putting down people who work in diners or may work in jobs where if they disappeared tomorrow, nobody would miss them. I mean, everybody's got to do those jobs, and I appreciate the jobs those people are doing. So don't get me wrong there. They don't kill judges. They tend not to, Francie. They tend not to. Compare the coverage of the Idaho for the Ortiz victims. Oh man, the four kids who were college kids who were killed in Moscow, Idaho. Now, to give you an idea of where Moscow, Idaho is, it's approximately 70 miles from where I am right now. I'm closer to Pullman, which is about 58 miles, somewhere roughly in there. If I take the back road, and I can cut there. I can be there in about an hour and a half without the snow on the ground. I can be in Pullman, Washington. Now, Pullman, Washington is the University of Washington, and Moscow, Idaho is the University of Idaho. You know, the two schools. There, you can't drive from one to the other and really tell the difference that you're leaving one state or one town. I mean, when I went to school, and that's where I went to college, was Washington State University. You, I mean, back then there were two tiny little towns in the middle of nowhere, and in between was nothing but wheat fields and lentil fields. That was all that was in between the two of them, and you would have to drive forever to get from one to the other. But now that the two cities have grown so close to each other, you can't tell you're leaving one to go to the other. But Moscow, Idaho, the four college students that were killed there versus the Ortiz, I'm not following that, but there has been a lot of coverage about the four college students who were killed there. If I could put that in retrospect, the four college students who were killed at the University of Idaho, Moscow, Idaho, versus the coverage that some other cases are getting. I mean, that would be here for the Moscow students, and a lot of the other cases are here. It has to do more with their age. They're white. I'm sorry, but it plays into it an awful lot. If these were 4 African American students who were killed at the University of Idaho, we wouldn't see even half of the news coverage, and that's statistics, that back that and support that. If they were 4 indigenous college students, there would be half as much coverage. But white, poor little white students get killed at a don't want to say it's a dominantly white college, but it is a larger percentage of white students there. It definitely draws in the media attention, and when they can throw their faces up on the evening news night after night, speculating about everything about that, and they won't do it for any other race, but they're beautiful little college students who were murdered. Well, what did you study at the University of Washington? Communications. My entire goal, Francie, was I wanted to be an elementary school teacher, but communications was my major with a minor in education. I came that close to getting my K through 6 certificate. I I quit right about the time I started my internship at a local here a local like it was a junior high and elementary school. It was all one building. What half of it was elementary and the other half of it was a junior high school. But I started that, and that's when I left the program because I wanted to focus on communications, mass communications as my major because that took a lot of work, and but I eventually I dropped out of college altogether, and got a job, started earning my way in this world. And one thing led to another, and then years later, through correspondence classes, I finished up my degree. If Moscow case goes the trial, will you attend? Mm, I don't know. Um, Now, I need to explain to you what it's like to drive there. Now, the only way to get to Moscow or to Pullman, Washington, is 2-lane roads. That are country roads. Basically, they're highways. There's a small, tiny section that is more of an interstate, if depending upon which direction you're coming from. But if I was to drive there, I would take I-90 to Colotis, Washington, and Connell. I would turn off there, depending on which route you take. Yeah, and that's then a divided highway until you get to Washtukna. That's the name of a town. I'm telling you, there's nothing there except for a farming community and one gas station. And then it's 2 lanes all the way there. In the wintertime, when it snows, people who live there don't come this way, and people who live here don't go that way unless they have to. It's not plowed a lot. They don't ice it, and they get a significant. As you've seen from the news coverage of it so far, there's a lot of snow that falls in the Palouse. That's the area around Moscow and Pullman. If they catch someone and it's after the winter freeze and everything, I might. I mean, it's close enough. It's only an hour and a half away to Moscow from here. So um, to Sensible, I think it was that said that the 4 college students are relatable or photogenic, like Gabby Petito. Yes, an awful lot. That has to plays into it. If you compare it to the Gabby Petito and the press coverage that got, and it's sad. You know, if you ask news bureaus out there, do you report highly, on these crimes versus these crimes for the evening news? They'll tell you no. It doesn't matter what the race, or religion of the actual, victim is. We report on the same. When you statistically you look at it across the board, it's dominantly white. Victims get a heck of a lot more press coverage. In an example, around the same time, about a week ago, when the 4 college students in Idaho were murdered, there were 2 indigenous ladies who were found murdered in the state of Idaho and got almost no coverage at all. And the major networks in Boise, which is the capital, should have covered it. The affiliates there, they have ABC, NBC, Fox, Al Jazeera even has an office there. And I think ABC and NBC covered it a little, but I mean, that's a fact of life across the United States. We covered this a lot more than we covered this. African American, and indigenous people who are serial killers. We get very little coverage on them versus, those who are white. Samuel Little, African American serial killer. There's very little, known about his history in his life and what he did. But I'm willing to bet if I put a poll up here, we could all think of a fact that we know about Ted Bundy. This man killed 3 times as many people as Ted Bundy. But Ted Bundy, he's white. He killed white, victims. Samuel Little killed a lot more indigenous and African American, victims. So we don't cover this one as much as we cover this one. And it's sad that if I wish there was a voice for it all out there where people would report on it equally. Idaho again, gay men even less. I believe that Moscow and FBI authorities know that they're doing what they're doing. The time will tell. I believe that too. I don't think that there's been as much fumbling as people want to speculate that there has been. Why haven't they named a suspect? Why haven't they done this? Why haven't they done that? That comes with every case. You get the people on the internet who just love to talk, or the evening news who want to speculate about everything. And the same thing goes for the Delphi case. Just because people don't know all the facts of the case, they're like, well, why haven't they done this? So Ted Bundy was an attractive man. Yeah. I mean, but if you've seen a picture of, Samuel Little, when he was in about the same age, as Ted Bundy, he was an attractive individual as well. Look at older pictures of Gary Ridgway. He was an attractive individual when he was younger. Or Israel Keys. I mean, even pictures of Israel Keys before he killed himself. He was an attractive man. He was even quite asked to be a model for Bloomingdale's at one point. But hey, Will, see you later. I need more sleep. All right, Purple. You have a great weekend and you stay safe out there. I don't get that, Samantha Muscle McDowell. I don't think he's good looking. You have to put yourself in the context of Amelia when Ted Bundy was killing and what the times were. You got to think 1970s. The style, the hair, everything. If you look at it through that lens of 1970s, Ted Bundy was an attractive individual. If he was alive today and he wasn't in the penitentiary and fat and bloated, he would have been an attractive man even today. If you put the right hairstyle and clothes on him and you lined him up next to a bunch of CFOs, CEOs of different corporations, he'd be a sharp dressed man, even today. You see evil. I mean, people say I see evil. Well, Bundy's an evil individual. They're all evil. I mean, I've never met a serial killer or learned of a serial killer that was a nice person. You got to be pretty messed up to not kill one person, let alone kill more than that. Usually I miss them because the time zones it's 5:15 a.m. Sunday morning there. Wow, that's a heck of a time difference, Amelia. I think they will do it with DNA. Very hard to do that that much damage with a knife and not leave your DNA. That's true, Mike. And at the same time, whoever did it, you have to think that they're somewhat powerful to subdue and kill that many people while two additional roommates were sleeping. They never woke up. They didn't hear anything. Um, and to give you a context to where the house that they lived in is, it's approximately 3 blocks. If you go down to the corner and then 2 blocks to the left, is where a very popular nightclub is there at the University of Idaho. This is in a residential area, and a lot of the homes look just like the house there. I mean, it starts off as one home, and then people like subdivided it out and made apartments out of the entire house. So one house that used to be a single family dwelling could end up being a fourplex. But this one it was all it's very very common of the size of house and the layout. Rest in peace, Athena. Who is Athena? I'm sorry for not knowing. And good morning, Starfire. The name's not ringing a bell with me. Sorry. You read my mind, Samantha McDowell. That's not difficult. It's very story short. If that house was like another joined together. Well, if you originally, if you look at the floor plan of the home, was it Amelia? Like, Amelia. If you, well, nope, that's a sensible crime. If you look at the original floor plan of the house, the apartment that they lived in used to be the basement of the home, and the upstairs was originally, it was all one single family dwelling, and then they subdivided the house out. That you'll find that everywhere, all the way through the Palouse, especially around, in um, Pullman, Washington, where I went to school. There were a couple of large, really large apartment complexes. There's Campus North, Campus South. Those are the two big apartments complexes in Pullman. And then there's like the Bedrocks, and there's a couple other ones on the other side of Hyco. But a large majority of the single family dwellings were subdivided out into dual duplexes or fourplexes. But that started off as an actual single family dwelling. The little girl in Texas, Athena Strand. Oh wow, I haven't heard about that case. Be right back, says Amelia. Thumbs up done. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That way YouTube will push this, help push this out to more people. I never understood that though. Let's just say that I have 35,000 subscribers, and I only get 20, 27 people to join streams. I mean, it's the different times of the day and stuff like that, and not everybody can watch or take part. But I shouldn't say I never. I've only had one stream in all the years I've been doing this that I've ever had over 100 people join the stream. Never had it. I'll get literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people who will watch the stream after the fact. And thank you for everybody who does watch it. It's just not during the live to actually take part. Catherine Fleming, good morning and welcome to this morning's stream. What do you think of Stephen Avery's story at the moment? Regards from Ireland. Good morning from Ireland. Well, that's two from Ireland. Right above you, you will find Samantha Mustard McDowell is from Ireland as well. So welcome this morning. And good morning, Carrie. Uh, Stephen Avery's story. Hmm. Well, I don't believe it. There's a lot that within the Stephen Avery story that I find hard to believe. I think some of it's based in actual fact, and other rest of it is just like it's a stretch. Tanner Horner, a FedEx driver, confessed to kidnapping and killing Athena Strand. So that's the little girl from Texas. That that sucks. Christina Burleson, good morning. Hi, all you beautiful people. I'm late. Wow, late, better late than never. But good morning. I heard the 911 caller was neighbor when the first floor roommate fainted outside when she found Ethan. That's why that was that's why the call was for unresponsive person. They didn't know about the other victims yet. I haven't heard the actual 911 call itself, Gayla, but I do believe you're correct on that though. Darlene Jones Nelson, good morning and welcome to this morning's chat. I hope you had a wonderful week. Thank you for joining us. People accuse Athena's stepmother. Oopsies. Sinus pressure, but okay. Well, I hope you feel better soon, Mike. All right. Gotta scroll up. Amelia, here's a link that you to the case of Stephen Avery. Hi, darling. Are you talking? Are you taking ideas for cases to look at? Always, Amelia. I'm always taking them. 90% of all the content on this channel is from viewers, suggestions. I'm always taking, suggestions for cases to look at. Can you get Beaconase? It's a sinus spray and make you feel better. JCT, hello from paradise. And Para 710, good morning. Welcome to this morning's chat. Hope you both had a wonderful week. Darlene Jones Nelson from Wisconsin, too. What part of the great state of Wisconsin are you from, Darlene, or where are you at located today? Sam is over there. Like I'm not sure because we get free prescriptions. Check out Ronnie O'Neill. He's another Ronnie O'Neill. Kenosha. Kenosha. I bet it's cold as hell in Kenosha this morning. Ronnie. O'Neill. He's another Daryl Brooks. Really? No, did we already have enough Daryl Brooks? Did we need another one? Sudafed is great for sinus pressure. 30 degrees, not too bad, but windy. In Kenosha. I was born and raised in Prescott, which is down by the Twin Cities. Born and raised there. We still have a family farm off of state route just outside of there. I don't want to give away the actual location because I don't need people showing up there. And you would think that that'd be a long stretch. No, it's not. I've had people show up at my other house that I lived at before here by giving away too many details to where it was. Definitely don't need another Brooks. That's true. Levi Smith, a 6-month-old, starved and beaten to death. His sister is still at risk. You taking off? Okay, only the host said hello. I'm sorry, JCT. And my name is Will JCT. Well, if you need to go, you need to go. Levi Smith. I can't guarantee that I'm going to cover all the stories. If it comes down to it, it's what I can actually factually document. If I can't document the facts around a case, I've got hundreds of cases that are that I've done parts of. And every once in a while I'll go back through. I try to do it once a month. I go back through and I try to find it, see if there's any new information. Like Michael Vaughn, Monkey. I've been following that case since the day he disappeared. But you'd be surprised what is actually people think they know about the case and what is actually documentable. That where information has come directly from law enforcement or some place where I can say this person has I have an audio file or something where I can actually document that person said this mother family friend something where I can actually use the information. It's just because somebody reports at a newscaster or whatever and says, well, the boyfriend is a prime suspect and or whatever it might be in a case. That doesn't mean anything. Did the police actually name that person a prime suspect or a suspect at all? Did the police actually speak to that person? Newscasters can say whatever the hell they want. Put it in writing. That's if they put it on writing on the website, that's a start in the right direction. And then I take that and I try to document it. Oh. It'd be surprised, the sheer amount of people that, and what people hear first online. So say, oh, pick a YouTube channel that that you can think of that talks about true crime. If they say something and it's the first time you hear it and hear about the case, you will develop what's called a bias. It's basically a bias. I don't want to get into some terms to confuse people, but you'll build up a bias that is the actual factual information because it's the first thing that you heard about a case. And then people, will push back against anything else that they hear from there on that may contradict that person or that information. Confirmational bias is what it's called. You can look that up if you want later. Gianna Marie. Good morning, Gianna Marie. Welcome to this morning's chat. I hope you've been doing well. Glenn Jamin, confirmational bias. Yes. My mom's family are the McDowells. Levi Smith story and share, trying to get this child protection to act. There's a short video on Arctic Fox's true crime. Ooh, I'm trying to scroll through here. Northern Ireland, you are one smart one and interesting man. Well, thanks for all the videos that you put out for us. And thank you for being here and watching, Christina. Wouldn't do it without anybody else. If without the viewers here. I mean, there are cases that I would still cover, regardless, and there are a lot of them that I cover that they're not in the mainstream media, so they don't get half of the attraction that they do. But I'd still do it even if nobody was here to watch. What do you think about Casey Anthony, Gianna Marie? Well, Casey Anthony can take a very long walk off a very short pier. And I would hope that she's holding 50-pound concrete weights around her ankles when she does it. Casey Anthony is. I don't have anything nice to say about her. I think it's really interesting though that she wants to pretend to be a private detective now. That's interesting. I want to see who's going to give her money to do that. But then again, she definitely knows the mind of a killer, doesn't she? Yeah. There are some people in this world who just never should have children. I will never be able to remove from my mind the pictures of Casey Anthony partying it up when she gave absolutely no care to where her little child was, little girl. She didn't care. She was just in the way of her having a good time. She could have just said, you know what, to her mom, I just can't do it. Anybody else would have stepped in and taken the child and kept her safe. Casey Anthony could have just gone on and done whatever she wants. But that picture, those pictures, I should say, of her partying it up is freaking weird, though. You watch Arctic Fox? I'm gonna write that down. I've never watched the Arctic Fox channel. Check it out. Like the video, and Jared really disappointed because I like the what those guys did. Hopefully, they will continue finding the missing persons for their families when Jared is in prison. Gayla, they're and once the lawyers finish up with what they have to do, because there are some contractual obligations and there are contracts in place. Once all that gets situated, and hopefully a lot sooner than later, before because they could stretch the trial out, or whatever it might be, or plea agreement out for a year from now, or 2 years from now, or whatever. I mean, if it's anything like the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case, it might be 3 years from now before we ever see him in behind bars for what he did. But there is a certain push behind the scenes, if you will, behind the camera, to try to put at least part of the group together to continue on with the work of what Adventures with Purpose did. But we have to wait for all the legal stuff and the contracts and everything to to work out between lawyers and everything else. I think if they're if they are ever to come back together, with maybe Doug Bishop and Rin, as the two main divers, and maybe they're able to to bring in Angelo or Josh Cantu or somebody to be the videographer. If they're able to do something like that, um, yeah, I think it'd be the best. There are other smaller groups out there that do work exactly like Adventures with Purpose, who don't take anything and have never asked for a dime to actually support their work. Um, Adventures with Nug is a good channel. He does excellent work on his channel. He's volunteered with Adventures with Purpose in the past, so you may have seen him on there as well. But yes, I really do hope that somebody is able to step in and pick it up and and go move forward with what they did, because the mission itself and what they were doing is important. It they did help bring closure to what 26 families, I believe, exploring with Nug. What did I say? Adventures with Nug. I'm sorry about that. I probably did say Adventures with Nug, but I do that a lot. A lot more people understand. That's one of the major things that I do with my editing is going back through and watching, and listening to what I said again. I may read it on the teleprompter, correctly, but from between here and here coming out, for some reason I just do that. Don't know why. Adam Brown. Uh, Jared is AWP. He owns him and his wife own and control 100% of AWP. There isn't any facet of the entire business, volunteer, anything that they do not control. Merchandise all the way down to how it's actually worked, how they contact the families, how they go out and they actually do the business, the volunteer, the diving, everything. There's contracts that are set up and that are in place for everything from supplying at a discount the supplies, you know air for the diving, if you watch it closely, product placement, everything else. 100% of it is controlled by Jared and his wife, and that's what they wanted it. They built this entire thing, on purpose, and I don't fault them for that. 100% of everything you see here on camera is owned and controlled by me. So the AWP is still posting. Yeah, Gala. Uh, from what I understand, from what Doug Bishop said in his release, there is, I think, 6 months or it's either 6 months or 6 weeks of actual recovery efforts and videos that have already been filmed and posted. I mean, I don't think for a second that Jared's not going to pivot, to try to replace everybody who's been there, in the past. But there's a lot of footage, that work that's been done, in the past. So And it's not that hard. I mean, you could do the entire thing and edit out any one individual, edit out any communication that shows Doug Bishop. You could edit out the work of anybody else on camera, who's behind the camera, who's the script writer, who's doing the support work. You don't see those people on camera every episode. All that valuable equipment. Well, from what I understand, Sensible Crime, the RV is not owned by Jared. It's a lease. Um, the trailer is owned by him, and all the equipment inside of it is. But from what I understand, the RV is a lease agreement or something like that. So he could give it back or change it for another one. So who knows? But I can't confirm that though. That's just what I kind of understand from talking with some other people who have volunteered or worked with the group. Yes, he did, Gayla. In writing and in video, Doug Bishop resigned from AWP. He doesn't want anything to do with anything that Jared owns and controls. What is Starfire doing that sounds yummy? I'm having homemade chili for lunch. Ooh, that sounds yummy. Um, the very Gala, if you go to my channel, the very first video that I did on Jared. Now I'll tell you what the thumbnail looks like. It says Jared Lasik charged with in the number 2 in green charges. If you go to that, you don't even have to watch the video, but just scroll down in the actual description right at the top. I linked all of the resignation videos from the divers and those who have volunteered with AWP. And that will bring up the Doug Bishop video itself of him resigning from AWP. Or you can fast forward through all the way through the video to the end, and it's on the actual video itself. But the link directly to his YouTube channel is right there in the description. Oh, well, Amelia, I just put out a video about that. All right, so I'll give you guys a little bit more on the video that I just released the other day about Jared. So at first, because he's edited it since then, he's changed it since I was actually sent a screenshot of it, and I have that, to prove that he actually changed his community post. So here on YouTube, he posted a community post that said, that was kind of like an answer and question, question and answer or whatever, Q&A, about what happens to donations that are given to AWP. And then he did a screenshot of the, frequently asked questions from Adventures with Purpose. But if you click on the link, what it actually shows up on AWP's frequently asked questions is not the screenshot that he originally shared. He since edited it and put up a different screenshot altogether. So I knew that was going to happen, and that's why we screenshotted what he actually posted and how long the actual post was. He then followed that up with now offering exclusive behind the scenes content. And like you said there or alluded to there, is he's now doing content where you can reach out directly and line his pockets even more. He's got to come up with money to pay for the house and the attorney and everything else to defend himself against the sick things that he's done. And to answer another question that somebody brought up the other day, could Jared sue you for what you said about him? Well, he can try. I have an attorney, And everything that I've said is nothing is slander, except for calling him a giant piece of shit. I mean, you can sue me for that. You ain't gonna win. But everything that I said is in the public forum, public information. Be right back. Yes, it's cold and rainy in Sacramento too. He not only released the video, but he's charging exclusive previews for members only. Amelia, I can't believe that since the allegations of and I said the word allegations there, of even though he's confessed to it 6 times, that are documented, 7 times total, but 6 times that are documented, he's confessed that he actually did this. Um, I think they've only lost about 30,000 subscribers. That's it. Every time somebody clicks on one of their videos, it's just another little chunk of money that's going directly to him through AdSense. If I can afford a lawyer, I can sue you for anything. Doesn't mean I have even a remote chance of winning. This is absolutely true, Sensible Crime. It is true. Yeah, and I've been very careful about what I said and what I've documented. So I keep files on everything, like all this. These are all files on everything that these are probably the last like 3 months. But I document everything, either in screenshots and then I print them out. I keep a copy to a thumb drive. I'm very well protected, and I know my rights. I know what I can say and what I can't say. There's a lot of things that people would probably love to know about Jared and his past. To say that he, the angel, the person who is doing good, just because you see him for the last 3 years on YouTube, helping families get closure doesn't mean that that's the same person, when the camera is off. There's been some people who have alluded to it. Part of Jared's problem is his family support and forgave him for his sexual abuse at the time. He probably thought what he did was no big deal. Yeah, I'll agree with that, Gala. His family definitely plays into it to I would say a larger extent than what people probably realize. He was protected by them. Um, Even after he broke ties with them, and moved away back east, and then came back to Oregon, they protected him, and they told the victim to, basically just forget it and move on. But in the state of Utah, there's no statute of limitation on sexual abuse. For the large part, there are some restrictions on it, but for the large part, there is no statute of limitations. Unlike a lot of states that have restrictions on after a certain period of time. Susan McDermott, hello from the UK. If it ain't raining, it ain't training. Hello from the UK. Hello from the United States. Susan McDermott. I'm glad you could be here with us this morning. I hope you had a wonderful week. Relax, sit back, and have yourself a cup of coffee or tea. You have a question? Feel free to ask. Given a remote chance. No, but I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say. A lot of people pointed the fingers at the Mormon Church and said that that is the reason why the family, protected it. That it's a religious issue, of why they protected him. I don't agree with that. That's a very narrow scope of why the family did it. It, you know, things like this, like sexual abuse, have been happening, in Catholic homes. Catholic, Roman Catholic. It's happened in them. It's happened in the Baptist church. Is it a religious thing? The reason why? I mean, you have to look at, people, believe in the forgiveness, from the religious aspect, and they believe that, that God can help them. Look no further than what Josh Duggar did. Now, we know Josh Duggar molested his sisters and a family babysitter and and family friend. I mean, he did all that, and they believed that religion would cure, Josh Duggar of his, desire, for young girls, and obviously it didn't. But so it happened even in that grouping. But to say that, what Jared did is, somehow related to just being Mormon, or that there's more of that happening in the Mormon church, I think that's a very narrow view, and you're not looking at the, wider spectrum of all religions and non-religious families as well, where people have been protected, by the family because they didn't want to turn somebody in. They didn't want them to be punished any more than they already, feel like they've been punished for what they've done. Your your father's side of your family is LDS, and do not condone sexual abuse of any kind. Uh, Will, do you follow Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, the royal family stuff? Interesting study in narcissism. Um, do I follow Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, or the royal family? No, I do not, Francie. Now there is a really good documentary that is on Curiosity. It's another website where creators can post, like YouTube creators, Twitch, Instagram, whatever, wherever they may create content as a normal avenue. Excuse me. Curiosity gives you the ability to make longer form content without worrying about what the advertisers or the site that you're on, like here on YouTube, say about it. Where I'll make it if I do a content, I have to limit what I say, how I say it, what I can show. These are restrictions because they consider it advertiser friendly. You have to water everything down to a point where, or turn advertising off completely and not make anything from it, which you'll find, the last 60 days of all my content, except for live streams, there's no advertising on it at all. I turn it all off because it's not considered advertising friendly, especially like, the Jared Lasik, what he's done to sexual abuse. You can't, as a creator, you can't say that and then advertise it now, or have ads run against it now, because I said it in this stream. I can't have ads run on this content. It will be limited by what YouTube says. But again, back to what Curiosity is. There's a really good documentary about the royal family in it as a whole, and then all the other countries where the royal family has had an influence, and why are they still there? Even after all these years, why is the royal family and the British monarchy, why is it over still in Canada? Why is it in Australia and all these other places around the world? But that it's a full length. I think it's almost 2 hours long, but it's on Curiosity. You watch the Royal Insider? Meep meep. Good morning, meep meep. Louise, good morning. Not raining yet in Mount Clemens, Michigan. Cold and rainy in Michigan, where Starfire is, but not where Louise is. But um, I've never posted directly to any of my content to Curiosity because it you can get a buy a monthly subscription to Curiosity and watch whatever you want, but it's just like why I don't post any content really to Patreon up until that's going to change after the new year, but up until this past year, anything that went on to Patreon that was for Patreon only, subscribers, supporters of my content, I had to upload it to YouTube first. They were the hosting site, and then I shared the link on Patreon, and so it's behind a paywall on Patreon. True, people are volunteering to pay and subscribe and support my content on Patreon, but YouTube, I had to still deal with YouTube in the content aspect of what they would allow me to say on YouTube. That all changed though, and it's going to change for anybody who is a Patreon supporter coming after the new year. I just have to wait until then because I have to ramp up and get all the production, in order for it. But Patreon, now I can load my content directly to Patreon, and it's behind, and sure it's behind a paywall still, but those are people who volunteer to come watch the content and pay the money. So I can upload stuff directly to Patreon without having to go through the YouTube moderation, and monetization and their issues with it. I can load it directly to the people that want to watch it. So that's coming in January. I'm excited that Patreon is finally offering that option, where a lot of other companies have done it over time, but it finally has come to Patreon. So I watched the Real Insiders, LDS, a cult. Brianna, even well, good morning. LDS is a cult. Well, Rihanna, you could say that about just about every single religion, that it's a cult. Look at all the weird, crazy, things that are in line with Catholicism. I mean, there's some pretty strange things, and people are very adamant about Catholicism. I mean, and more people have died in the name of religion than anything else ever. If we had a new war every single day for the rest of the existence of Earth, we would never really equal up to in these times the amount of people who died in wars over religion in the past. But when it comes to any religion, you can consider it a cult. If you look at from the outside in and the practices and the secretism and everything else. But Catholicism, yeah. In Australia, they are a bit suspicious of LDS. Well, I would be suspicious of any religion. I have so it'd be a nephew. I think just a nephew of mine joined a religion that is out of Korea, and it's definitely a cult. It's listed as a cult, by just about every government agency around the world that's considered a cult. But he's happy, and if you're happy and you're not hurting, anyone else, even if you're in a cult, is it really all that bad? I mean, sure, it may be restrictive to them. Maybe they're not able to communicate with other people, outside of their family freely. There are people who are here this past Thanksgiving at my house. I never want to talk to. And if they were to never be able to talk to me because of religious reasons, I'd be okay with that. I mean, that's just people within my own family that I don't get along with. So Religion's a hot button topic that a lot of people. There's going to be people on each side of the aisle on. This is a cult. This isn't. This religion is harmful. This one isn't. To each their own. As long as you don't hurt other people, is all I care about. Is don't hurt others. Any religion could be classified as a cult. Be kind, respectful, and follow the golden rule, and you'll be fine. Totally agree, Gayla. Check out the little girl Athena's story. I'm so sad that was it a UPS driver or a FedEx driver? We were talking about this earlier, Louise. Somebody said it was a FedEx driver. You said a UPS driver abducted her. Well, at least it wasn't a USPS driver, right? It wasn't a United States Postal driver. I think we can all agree on that it's some kind of other carrier. Well, then it couldn't have been a FedEx driver. FedEx, says Francie. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, well, I got it written down here to look into the story. So I'm gonna look into the YouTube creator Arctic Fox and see what the content is about. And, what I think of it. Ronnie O'Neill, Levi Smith, and then Athena. I only wanted to ask, why did you drop the second meep? I'm always going to remember it as meep meep instead of just meep. I mean, I guess it's not really important in the grander scheme of things in life. I've got a lot of subscribers and people who follow me, and I see in the comment section who've changed their screen names over time. Like one lady, she was originally Golden Ring, then she went from Golden Ring to Betty Boop, then from Betty Boop to Feline, then to just Debbie with a heart, and from Debbie with a heart, what is she now? But she's changed just about every 6 months. I love the role of FedEx in the movie Castaway, Castaway with Tom Hanks. All that time just to bring them the package. Wilson! Because people don't like to repeat themselves? I thought it was a neat name. I mean, it's stuck with me. I always remember you. And I'm always, I don't even have to think about it in just my head. I see meep and I always think meep meep. Just like, what is it, the Roadrunner? Beep beep. It rolls off the tongue if you think about it for me. Tom Hanks is ruined. Wilson, I'm sorry. Yeah, I have to later today. I have to go through YouTube's new compliance policies. That's going to be fun. I got it printed out in the house. So I've got my highlight marker, and I'm gonna have to sit down and go through their compliance policies because again, YouTube has changed their. It's a never-ending movement of the goalpost. It's always moving around. Every time you think you know what their policies are, they move it just a little bit, and then they move it a little bit back, and then they move it a little bit this way. But I'm gonna have to go through their compliance policies today. I think I printed it out. It's a total of 41 pages. That's going to be fun. I don't know about everybody else what you have planned for the rest of the day, but I bet it's going to be more fun than what I'm doing. I didn't think I had my glasses, but I do. Hey, that's a lot better. Sounds like fun. Oh, Gayla's baking cookies. Oh, what if I could get my daughter to bake some cookies for me? Because she's home. See, today's Saturday. She's home until Tuesday. Don't wish harm on kids. As these are our future. This is true, Rihanna. They are true. That is true. They are our future. Baking cookies. Are you gonna be making any snickerdoodles? I'm planning on putting up my Christmas tree. Samantha, we never took ours down from last year. It's been up all year. Same place is sitting there. And yes, it's an artificial tree. But this we got this tree from a family friend. And it takes an ungodly amount of time just putting the tree together and taking it out of the box. And it's every branch you can bend and twist in different directions. The larger branches, the smaller branches, the whole thing. But once it all together, it's really a full tree. And it's such a pain in the keister to put together. We just decided, forget it. We'll just leave it up. So we never have to worry about taking the tree down. It just sits over in the corner in our living room all year round. But you love them. The artificial is the best. But we every other year, Francie, we buy a live tree. At least we buy a live tree, in the pot with the soil and everything, and then afterwards we find some place to plant it. So I'll buy a real tree this year in a pot, and then we'll find some place to actually plant it. We call cookies in the UK biscuits, and what you call biscuits are called scones. Nice with the clotted cream and raspberry jam. Ooh, that sounds good. Um, well, I don't know about that. I guess that you say if what you call biscuits. I'll put it on the screen so I can refer to it again. Biscuits, cookies are biscuits in the UK, and biscuits are called scones. Hmm. Scones with gravy. When I think of scones, I think of spaghetti or spaghetti, whatever the hell it is. The ones you find like in Italian restaurants or coffee shops. That's what I think of, as a biscuit, or a biscuit like that it'd be hard on the outside and somewhat moist on the inside. I wouldn't call that a cookie though. Potato chips are called crisps. That's the way we refer to them back home, meet in Wisconsin, at least in our area where we are. Potato chips that you'll find all over the United States are not the same as what we have back home. The when we call them crisp chips, back home, but they're different from like what here we get on the West Coast or what you'll find on the East Coast. Um, when it comes to a manufactured um, like potato chip back home, just about everybody I know of, we eat Old Dutch. That's the manufacturer of chips. They come two bags in a box. You can either get 2 barbecue or 2 sour cream or 2 regular, or you can get mixed, 1 barbecue, 1 sour cream, but they come in a box, 2 bags in a box. Um, yeah, I can't get them anywhere out west where I live. I'm sure maybe there's some place out west where that it has them, but not in my area. And I've never seen them. I would, and every time I go back home, I always buy like 8 or 9 boxes of them and bring them back here to share with friends and family. But like we also call like crisps, like they're potatoes, but they're not like a French fry. They're more like a wedge, like fry. Kind of hard to explain. But we French fries are not the same, as you would get everywhere else. Like McDonald's fries. I mean, they're fries, but they're not what we eat back home. At least where I'm from. Tato makes the best crisps. I remember Charlie crisps. Maybe scoop it out the pulp and put the potato process. Get it into use the I use canned. Usually use canned, but I got Brave this year. But we make potato. The potato is multi-purpose, vegetable. We use it, dehydrate it, turn it into flour, and use potato. Turn it's basically a potato flour, but it's not flour, like a wheat flour and or a corn flour mixed in with the potato. We dehydrate it. We turn it in the whole potato into like flour itself, and we use it in everything from batter to cooking it, thickening agent in soups, you know. But it you always end up with like a little flake in it. There it might be all a consistent like flour, but you're going to end up with flakes in it though. Some flakes. Talking about pumpkin pies or breads, my wife makes pumpkin pie, but she didn't this year. My daughter made them because my wife was too busy. But she's got a recipe for it for pumpkin pie, but she uses the canned that my mother-in-law makes pumpkin pie. She makes it from an actual pumpkin, kind of like you would make a squash. She cuts it in half, takes all the seeds out, and then roasts it, puts it in the oven, and then scoops out all the rest of it. With the seeds, the stringy little bits all come out, but then she cooks it, and then she scoops out all that, and then purees it in a food processor to make her own pumpkin pie start. England has the best chocolate. I wouldn't call most of the chocolate that's sold in America chocolate. And technically, most chocolate that is sold by Hershey's is not actually chocolate because it does not have enough of the milk, the butter fats in it, and chocolate fats in it. So they can't even technically call it, chocolate. But they've done a lot of things by going to different overseeing companies, government agencies, and try to loosen the regulations to actually be able to call it chocolate. It's not really chocolate. I've got a recipe for disaster. It might be hard getting those seeds out though. By the way, you like American ice cream? All depends on which ones. If you go to a grocery store here, there is real ice cream, and then there is stuff that doesn't have any milk in it at all, and it's not a sorbet. It's made with artificial ingredients. A lot of like the really cheaper ice creams that you'll find that are store brand or that come in a bucket, they have almost no cream in them at all. Just take the bucket and leave it out on the counter, and it melts down into just a puddle of goo that is closer to bubble gum than it is to actual ice cream. Cadbury's isn't the same here. I have a store here. It's a European store. They sell all kinds of like chocolates and candies and chips and stuff like that from around the world. I gotta go over there. And, it's like a town over from me, but it would be I want to say 14 or 15 miles from me, right in there. If I take the highway, about 15 miles from me. I need to get over there because they're also the only place that sells Maggie's soy sauce. We call it Maggie soy sauce, but it's not actually technically a soy sauce, but because it doesn't qualify as being fermented to be a soy sauce. Some ice creams don't melt. Gummy ice cream 20. Ice This ice cream was out in the early 20s. Huh. Tillamook vanilla bean is awesome. Tillamook, Oregon. Uh, well, it's towards the coast from me. Uh, if I drive down and I hit the Oregon border, Umatilla, and then I take a right and I head towards Portland, I could be in Umatilla. I mean, not Umatilla, but Tillamook, Oregon, at the actual cheese factory, where you can take tours and watch them make ice cream and cheese. But they have a really good tasting room as well. I could be there in about probably about 4 hours. So it's a really good place. I put soy sauce in my tater tot casserole and beef stew. There you go. I don't. I use Lee and Perrin's um, Worcestershire sauce. But I agree. The Tillamook ice cream, that's real ice cream, and it's got a high percentage of milk fats in it. So it's pretty good. Son of a beep. I don't know if you guys can hear that little yippy dog. I can hear him. Okay, see you there in 4 hours. Import stores. Yeah, we have like a European store. Then we have I think it's like a Slavic store that is down the road a little bit, and then we have like Asian stores here and there that are everywhere. We have one here in my actual city. We have a Filipino grocery store. We go there a lot because a large percentage of my extended family from my sister's husband and all his family, they're Filipino. So we have a lot of Filipinos that are in this area. So we're constantly going there to for groceries. You can't get anywhere else. You have to go there. I haven't made tater tot casserole in a while though. I make beef stew. I start off with I buy leg bones from my butcher. I mean, he used to put them out and sell them. I originally started buying the leg bones for my dogs, but I don't have dogs anymore. So I buy them and then I put them in a roasting pan and cook them down in the roasting pan so all the marrow and everything else comes out of them. And then I use a little bit of red wine to demi glaze in the pan, get all those nice bits and pieces out of the bottom of the roasting pan, and then I strain that off into um, through a colander and cheesecloth to remove the a lot of the impurities in it, and that's how I start my beef stock for when I make beef stew. I love a really good beef, a hearty beef stew. You know, vegetables, mainly onion, carrot, celery. I don't put much else in it besides that. Um, my wife likes. I have a jar. It's in the refrigerator now of roasted cherry tomatoes. So I'll put some of those in her bowl when I make it because she likes the cherry tomatoes because they're really sweet naturally. Wait, me. Unfortunately, all of my dogs have passed. This here is my dog. That's Lucky. He's with me, all the time. He's going to be for the rest of my life. But all of my dogs have sadly passed. So the only thing we have now is my daughter's cats. Don't get me wrong, love the cats, but they're not the same, as my dogs. Have I avoided shooters lately? Yes, Francie, I have avoided shooters lately, especially at the grocery store. Now, Lucky was with me for 23 years. We can prove the date of his birth, and we can prove the date of his actual when we put him down. And Lucky had gotten to the point where his liver was failing, and he had really bad dysplasia. Um, Beast died right. My other dog Beast, he passed away right here. I think I was doing a live stream when he passed, right here in my studio. Because my daughter is 24, and lucky we got, when my daughter was just a toddler, so we knew, just that by that, itself, we knew exactly how old he was. But he had a good life. So we lost Lucky, Beast, Calliope, and Freya. We lost four dogs in a little over a year. Look up Irish stew, you'll love it. I will. Well, maybe the stew that I make is close to that, Samantha, because the recipe that I use is my grandmother's, and she is from originally she was from the Belfast area, but she lived in Northern Ireland and Scotland, and then before she immigrated to America, and then moved to Wisconsin. Well, she lived in New York for tiny bit, and then they immigrated to Wisconsin. Barley in Irish stew. Yeah, I don't put barley in the soup. That there are some things. I mean, like garlic. My wife loves garlic, so garlic's going to be in there as one of the first things. I roast the garlic, and then I put it in jars with olive oil, so we can infuse other things with the oil itself. But there are certain things that I can't put in there because of other people who eat it because of dietary restrictions, and barley is one of them. Um, Split peas or chickpeas, I can't put that in there either. You'd be suicidal. Well, yeah, not a day goes by that I don't miss them. But life goes on. I have Lucky with me. I have the memories. All those years. And I think overall all four of the dogs they had a much better life than they ever were going to get. You know, all my two of the four were blind and deaf. Well, Freya could see a little bit of shadows, but otherwise, you had to lead them everywhere. But they all had their issues. And Lucky was never supposed to survive in the first place. Oh, we put barley in broth soup. Well, I just can't do it because of some people who will eat it because of dietary restrictions. It's like my mother-in-law makes a pasta salad, a cold pasta salad, and she puts chopped up vegetables really fine in there. She can't put barley, or chickpeas, lentils, in anything either because the people going to eat it. They have restrictions so where they can't eat it. You're not getting another dog after this one. Well, after see the last dog that passed away was Freya. And after Freya, we swore up and down, then we're never getting any more pets. But and now we went from no more pets to 5 cats. So I have the crazy man starter kit, cat starter kit. My grandson's dog is going through it at the moment, as they think he has bone cancer in his jaw. Oh, that's tough. I'm sorry about your grandson's dog. Reichardt, good morning, Reichardt. Just woke up. I don't like waking up early. The pain of loss is the price we pay. This is true. This is true. It's always nice to have a companion though, and I guess the cats are companions too. Although they do like to shove everything off of tables, and right now they're a handful. Coffee. So what are we putting in your Irish stew? Just whiskey? Yeah, good old Jameson. A glass of Jameson with it. I don't have any in here. I used to keep a bottle of whiskey in here for when Tim was in town, but I don't have any in here. At least I don't think I do. Yeah, probably have one in the house in the cabinet. My dog wakes us up at 6 a.m. Lucky used to wake us up, at just before midnight because our neighbor used to come home from work. It was like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and he always slept on the floor at the foot of our bed, and he'd sit up and he'd just howl whenever he heard that truck coming in because the diesel truck. He'd hear that thing coming in. He'd just start howling. It's just like, shut up, Lucky. 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, divided 1 pound lamb cutlets or mutton bones, removed, cut into 2 inches, 5 centimeters chunks. Divide 2 pounds of potatoes, peel and cut into quarters. Divide 1 cup roughly. Ooh, that sounds good. Good start. We know the world isn't flat because cats would have pushed everything off by now. Isn't that true? I've seen that on an actual T-shirt. It showed a flat Earth and a cat, getting ready to push off like it was like a building or something off the edge of the Earth. But it seemed as a meme too. Can't drink liquor right now. I'm a couple hours. I begin driving. Well, that's probably a good idea, Reichardt. Morning. Cold and rainy here. Lucky is fine, except she won't go out the potty because of the rain. How are you, Inner Peas? All right, that's the first part of what Samantha posted. Give you a chance to write that down if you want this recipe, and then I'll post the second half of it. Yes, later on, I'll post my mother-in-law's recipe for the pumpkin pie. I'll put it on the community tab. It's actually really good pumpkin pie. All right, and the second half. Gayla's getting hungry. Good thing I already ate this morning. I got up about 3:15. I got downstairs after taking a shower, and made myself breakfast. I didn't have a big breakfast today. I had 2 English muffins, dry. Can't stand butter on English muffins or toast. Got to be dry. And then I had 2 parched parboiled eggs, I guess you call it. Trying to cut the fat out. Got too much going around the waistline. Jennifer Hill, hi Will. You're making my tummy grow. Good morning, y'all. Good morning, Jennifer. Sorting Christmas decorations. Well, I'm guessing you're Irish, German, English, um, Irish, and so I had the 23andMe DNA testing done to find out where our ancestry is from. Um, Ireland, we have like was it 2% Scottish ancestry, and then we had something like another small percentage of Scandinavian, but predominantly Irish. Duty Ron defend Jared? I I don't know anything about that. I would find it highly unlikely that he would, but I'd have to have more context to what he said and hear him actually say it. Me, if you just throw it all in a pot and let it stew. America is Irish. Yeah. Good morning, Shady. MI5. He was the one who stopped this trial of Jared. No, he wasn't. And I can prove that because I've already talked to the reporter with KVULX out of Salt Lake City. Duty Ron, and I was actually watching Duty Ron's stream when all that happened, when he mistakenly was heard through the WebEx. He wasn't the only reason they stopped it. What stopped the actual stream and from the case going forward and why the judge killed the WebEx feed was because they found out that there were people on YouTube who were streaming and showing people in the courtroom, which is extremely against the law. It tells you right there not to rebroadcast it, and they did it anyways. But that's what got the actual thing shut down, was because people were live streaming innocent people in court, and the court proceedings. They were showing them, if you want to have an open court system, you have to show up in person or be there. If you stream it through WebEx, you cannot show the likeness and the people in the court. And that's what got it in trouble. And then during the actual break in the actual proceedings is when Duty Ron made the mistake of actually, his voice was heard in the courtroom through the WebEx because he took his earbuds out and put them in the charging case. It turned on the microphone because he was muted before then. You have to remember there's an hour and a half worth of actual court that took place before the incident with Duty Ron took place. Blaming him is not right because that's not even what the court said the reason is they shut it down. They shut it down because people were live streaming innocent people in court in violation of their constitutional rights. But I understand why people, think that they want somebody to blame. And then there were other people, who were streaming who were making fun of him because he could be heard and he didn't know. He didn't know. It was an honest mistake. Hell, I've done worse. I've never done that through WebEx, but I've definitely done it through a live feed to a reporter who was on the scene of an incident. Let's just say where you couldn't hear me, but the reporter in his earbud was listening to me instead of actually listening to his voice as he actually was on camera. He was hearing me the whole time that he was supposed to be reporting. Oops. Yeah, you can't go back and reshoot a live event, ever. Well, you can look at it that way if Reichardt, they ruined it for the victim. But the fact is that what Duty Ron did wasn't the only reason why they shut it down. I'm sure that played into it some, a little, but the court closed it down because there were so many people live streaming and showing people in court that they're like, that's a direct violation of the stated rules right there, right underneath the actual feed itself. It tells you when you go on WebEx and you live stream events, it tells you cannot rebroadcast, these events. You can't. There are certain rules you have to follow and you have to agree to in order to even use the WebEx. And these people didn't give a rat's ass. They wanted to show Jared, in court. They wanted to hear him say not guilty via live feed. So I can understand why people want to blame them. They have to have somebody to blame because they don't want to look at all the other people that were live streaming it and showing people. I mashed potatoes, gravy, and stuffing, mac and cheese. Add some protein. Oh, I'm very aware that Duty Ron is a YouTuber as well. Reichardt, um, I would disagree with that. That he blamed everyone else but himself. Like I said, I was watching the live stream itself when it all happened, and live. So and he wholeheartedly, profusely apologized for what happened and explained how it all happened live, on air, and was very sorry for what he did. Um, it to others now, does it look like he's blaming everyone else? I think he was part of the reason. Um, to find fault, and point to the fault of other people. Of course, I would too. I'd say, I screwed up, and like he did, he said I screwed up, and but all these other people were doing far worse. He wasn't showing the live court feed, and the innocent people who were coming up for all sorts of different things. Remember, there were people before, I think it was about 40 minutes beforehand, who were there to get restraining orders, and they showed these people in court. That's wrong. Does one wrong make a right? No. And unfortunately, the entire thing happened. Can we take it back and correct it? No. Does it mean that the victim doesn't get justice? No. The victim is going to get justice. Yeah, yeah, they will have the court proceedings a week from now, and it won't be televised. If anything that Duty Ron did, he delayed the actual entry of not guilty plea from Jared and his attorney by a week, but he's going to enter it. And the victim is going. We're going to be a year out before anything really gets situated, unless they offer him a plea agreement. How did your large Thanksgiving feast go? I'm sure that you were a fine sous chef with your wife leading the way. My wife didn't cook anything for Thanksgiving for me. I did 100% of it myself. My mother-in-law normally helps, but she was preoccupied taking care of my it'd be my wife's stepfather, her husband, who is disabled. So she was preoccupied with getting him situated in and out of the house, and getting him in the house, getting him comfortable. So I did it all myself. Um, my wife is not exactly somebody you would look to for culinary help. She can cook some things, but not very much. Yeah, and it's unfortunate, Gayla. It is. No, my wife's name is Crystal. You can all watch us and follow us on the Taco Podcast here on YouTube. That's another channel that I operate, where we talk about things that are from our life, and our existence in this, ever great, growing and changing and confusing world. Taco Podcast on YouTube. We used to be on SoundCloud and the iStore, for podcast episodes, but we dropped that up. Now it's got to be at least 6 months now, 7 months. It was right around June and July, right in there. But it is unfortunate, Gayla. My hubby usually cooks most of the feast, but he worked 13 hours on Thanksgiving. That's a long day. My wife works 4 10-hour shifts. But if you add in the commute, so each day she has about what should be only a 30-minute drive to work usually takes about an hour and a half to commute each way. So that's 3 hours of commute time each day. So she works 4 10s, and then has Friday, Saturday, Sundays off normally, unless she has to work overtime. But yeah, when it comes to the cooking and everything else here, it's me. So I guess I'm kind of like Mr. Mom, Michael Keaton from the 1980s. That's me. I take care of the household, cook. I make and then on top of it, I make lunches for her coworkers. They pay me $50 a week to make their lunches. So I enjoy cooking. It's not really a huge issue for me. Nice, Will. You love to cook. Thank you. Well, thank you, Reichart. Love Michael Keaton. I think the best movie that Michael Keaton ever did, and it was not Mr. Mom. I think the best movie Michael Keaton ever did was Night Shift. I think that was a brilliant movie and a movie that almost never got made. Night Shift. You're awesome. Well, thank you, Interpiece. I appreciate it. Best Batman. Yeah, I don't know. I think Val Kilmer did a pretty good Batman. I've never understood like the way people fight about those things. Like who's the best Batman, who's the best Spider-Man, who's the best captain on Star Trek. Is it Kirk or Picard? Who is the best at these things? I think each individual brought something to eat to each role. Who's the best James Bond? Is another one that people fight over. To me, the best James Bond is always going to be Roger Moore. I always liked Roger Moore as James Bond. I think Picard was a good captain of the Enterprise, but Kirk was the original, and it wouldn't have gotten to Picard if it wasn't for Kirk. Spider Man. Who's the best Spider Man? I don't know. Toby Maguire was pretty good as Spider Man. Keaton, he was a good Batman. So was Val Kilmer. I mean, Val Kilmer was also excellent, as Jim Morrison in The Doors. But Jack Nicholson as the Joker, I'll agree with that. He was excellent as the Joker. But so was who's the guy that died that was in Brokeback Mountain? That Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger was pretty good as the Joker. Dick Tracy. Uh, Dick Tracy. That would be. Oh, I'm not going to look at the screen because it's going to come to me. And I have to think of it myself, otherwise it's going to bother me later. Oh, man, I can picture him. What the hell's his name? Damn it. Drawing a blank on it. Dick Tracy. Yeah, Dick Tracy was it's been a while since I've seen it. Love you, you're an amazing person. Much people such as yourself, though, you're much appreciated. You and your thoughts. Thank you. Didn't really watch TV when I worked. No, yeah, Gayla. I don't watch TV now. Uh, I think the last thing I watched on TV was I had to force myself, but I sat down and watched the Jeffrey Dahmer. Excuse me. I sat down and watched the Jeffrey Dahmer on Netflix, and before that was probably 6 months. I don't watch TV. I don't even have a chance to watch Netflix. I have it right here. I don't have time for it. I find other things to do when I'd rather do like sit down and read a book. I enjoy that a lot more. Well, I know Dick Tracy was a 1940s cartoon. Warren Beatty, thank you. Damn it. I knew it. Starfire, thank you. But yeah, Warren Beatty, I was like, damn it, who is that guy? I can picture him, but I just could not think of his name. Heath Ledger was cute. I think Brokeback Mountain was a great love story. It's off putting to a lot of people because of the relationship, and the over the that Heath Ledger's character and the other character were in a homosexual relationship. That's off-putting to a lot of people. But at the base of it all was a love story and a tragedy. That the love affair couldn't go forward. You don't have Netflix. I pay for everything: Netflix, Hulu, ESPN Plus, NFL Network, Major League Baseball. I pay for so much, and I never use any of it. I keep on telling myself I'm going to cancel some of these because nobody watches them. My son watches the Netflix every once in a while, for cartoons, but very, 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 very seldom. He could watch, YouTube videos or stream it, a lot cheaper, or for free. The Profiling Evil YouTube guide. Jared gets a good lawyer because the time ago stopped watching his channel. Profiling Evil. I know exactly who he is. All right. All right. Jared Lasik's attorney is Randall Richards. And he is a very prominent attorney in the state of Utah. Randall Richards. And Randall Richards and his law firm, he's a partner in. They've handled everything from capital murder cases to embezzlement and everything else in between. They're very expensive. I mean, obviously, and they have a pretty good track record. Let's just say that when it comes to court. I wouldn't call them the dream team like O.J. Simpson had, but they're not messing around, and he's definitely paying for top dollar legal defense on this. You don't have any paid channels? Anybody watching American Horror Story? I used to watch one that was like that, American Horror Story. I've seen some of the clips here and there. You used to get Hulu until it got they jacked the yeah. Everything goes up except for my income. That's the only thing that never rises. Isn't that true, ladies and gentlemen? Everything else around us is getting more and more expensive, but our incomes are not. They are not rising along with it. They say inflation is the reason why everything went up so fast, and shipping, costs. There's some to that, but at the same time, supermarkets have in the last 4 years have profited more money than any other time in history, and corporate profits are through the roof, across the board, but our incomes don't go up. A lot of incomes are stayed stagnant, or barely risen with the cost of living. I was on the wrong side of the O.J. Simpson. Thanks to old Joe. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it as an issue. If we would have the inflation either way. There are certain things that could have been done sooner to stop the rise of inflation and gas prices. I mean, if you really want to boil it down when it comes to gas prices, natural gas, and all petroleum here in America, in the United States of America alone, just the lower 48 states, not even counting Alaska, we have over 300 years of petroleum supplies that are right here in the ground in the lower 48 states. that we could drill, pump, and supply our own energy needs. 300 years. You add Alaska, that Alaska itself has about 200 years of, if not more, if they, there's certain parts of Alaska that they've never tested, so they don't know. But they have at least another 200 years of petroleum that is that is here. Where the United States has failed is we have so many regulations, like with the EPA, Fresh Water and Clean Air Act, and those things that are in place, that we have never expanded the um, processing of crude oil to, and we've never built storage, we've built storage containers, but we haven't built strategic ones around the United States for natural gas storage. We have some, but they're in small numbers. But and even with that said, though, a lot of people don't realize it's like what you have to make a trade-off in everything. You know, the next Exxon Valdez, that in Prudhoe Bay that happens, and contaminates the water and the sea life for, well, they're still finding portions of that oil washing up that now, but that is, what kind of natural disasters are you allowed to trade? Are you willing to trade off, or for your children to trade off for having all that here? But we don't need to import oil or in reserves. And in the meantime, while we're pumping our own, we could be, living off of our own reserves while we're, developing, an alternative fuel sources, tidal wave, solar, wind, whatever. But we don't, because these are the policies that have been put in place because you, me, and everybody else out here who is a voter voted these people into political office for 20, 30, 40 years or more, who are there to pass energy policies, and well, it comes to hurt us all in the end. And that's the truth. That energy policies don't get made tomorrow and then they go into effect and we're importing all of our oil and everything else from, Croatia. Nope. It's here. We just decide not to drill for it because we want to protect the environment. We don't want these things to, accidents to possibly happen in Yellowstone National Park. We don't want these things to happen, in your front lawn or wherever they may find the reserves. That's the truth. We'd much rather, something really awful is going to happen in another country. Just don't happen in my backyard is the mentality a lot of people have. I'd vote Will for president. I'd never want the job, Reichart. You're back, Rihanna? I'd never want the job. Politics is not my thing. Not my jam. I like what I do now. Skittles? What was Skittles for? Ooh, gummies. Hunker down. Be ultra cautious. I went to buy a bag of gummies. There you go. Are they CBD? CBD gummies? I got a friend who snacks on CBD gummies. Every time I see him, we're out golfing. The man's he's got a little tiny bag of CBD gummies. He's always chewing on. I'm like, okay. I don't know what the potency of them are, but he's always got them. He's got the sticker on the plastic bag. He got them from the dispensary, so I know they're CBD gummies. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I need to wrap up this morning's stream there. I thank everyone for being here, and I will post that recipe to my mother-in-law's pumpkin pie on the community tab later. politicians suck. We need the average Joe in office, and we do. And to answer that last part, the comment on that, the ghost employees, is everybody thinks that, or they, I shouldn't say everybody, a large majority want the government to solve problems for them, when the government is never going to solve your problems. You need to stop relying upon, or thinking that the government is going to solve your problems for you. Um, you know, there are great safety nets that we need to be in place for, in case somebody falls on hard times. You can call them social, welfare programs, whatever, but we need to have those in place, and it's good that the government has them for those who fall and need them. Or the alien and frail, who need those things in place. But the government, is never going to solve the majority of your problems or any problems for you. When it comes to, the government solving your problems, the only ones that are going to directly affect your life right now today are people in your city council, in your state elected officials in your state. They're going to be able to, affect your life in a positive or negative way. If the people who are not in office right now today are affecting your life in a positive way, ask yourself, why are they there? And do something about it. That's just common sense. Well, this guy's not doing anything for my political party. When it comes to the president, they're just a puppet in office. It doesn't matter if it's old Joe or if it's Trump. It doesn't matter who it is. They're a puppet. They can't do anything really unless everybody else below them agrees to it. And you might say, well, what about presidential, orders? That you can't, get them into process without money. Who controls the money? Congress. Who controls the ability to oversee it? Congress. So he can write anything he wants, as a presidential order, but you can't put it into effect unless the people below him agree to actually put it into place. So that's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you all again. You all have a terrific week ahead. Stay safe out there. They should work for you, but they don't.